Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 105. Today I'm going to talk about Barbarossa 1941. This is a game from Vita Games. I don't know if I pronounced that right. And this uses a system called the Art of Tactic, which is featured in an upcoming game called Samurai Battles. And so I got this copy here from the publisher, and just to kind of take a look at this system as applied to a World War II theme. It's a very unique system. I've never seen a system quite like this. And now the only folks that I can get to play this with me are miniature gamers. So guys that are into Axis and Ally miniatures are really keen on this kind of game. And you know, guys that are into Warhammer, War Machine, and things like that. So this is kind of like a board game for minis players. So you get models with this. You got to build your models. I'll show you that. And it's got a really sort of hidden movement, hidden orders system that is pretty unique, and it goes it takes some steps to sort of streamlining some of the complexities that are more often apparent in a miniatures game. You know, the minutia and the details and all that stuff that board games tend to streamline. This kind of takes a really good attempt, I think, at streamlining all of that into sort of an easy system, but still retains a ton of details and things like that. And so this is all tactical base, you know, squad level type of thing with tons of things. I mean, there's aircraft, you can dig trenches, there's different firing modes, there's all kinds of stuff. There's sometimes you do an order that will take more than one turn, so if you want to dig a trench, you don't just dig it right away. So there's some time elements. With the expansion, there's some weather elements and things like that, like wind blowing, things like that. All kinds of stuff. So I'm not going to go super heavy into every minute detail because the video would be a day long. But I'll give you a good sense of what you're going to get with this kind of system in this box. And so let's just start with that. Okay, so I got two boxes here. The one on the right here is the base game. And then on the left here we've got the expansion Battle for the Danube. And I haven't built any of the models for this. I built all the models for the base game, but I wanted to kind of show you what sort of a before and after is of what you're going to get in the box and then how it's going to end up being. So let's take the lids off of these, and you can see I've got all of the models in here. I got them all bagged up, and these are pretty detailed. I'll show you these in more detail in a second. Got the terrain, some of the boards there, and so here I've got the rules in here on this side, and then a little slip there, and you can see the models come in these sort of standy things, these plastic things, so you're going to have to get an X-Acto knife or something, punch these out. You will want to glue these, at least I glued them. Most of them should fit together and snap together, but for, you know, movement purposes and travel, I like to glue them all together, and so they stay stable. And so you can see all of this comes in like this. You get some markers, which I'll show you in a second. You get some of these cards. So I just wanted to show you that this is what you're going to get when you open the box. And then once you're done building everything, it's still going to fit all back in the box easily. So let's start with the easy models to put together. So these tanks are probably the easiest thing to put together. You can probably just snap all this stuff in and then not glue it, but I went ahead and glued most of this anyway. All of the units come with these little flags which you can write on or put stickers on. And so these will correspond to some of the cards here. So when you give orders, you know who you're giving orders to. So they're very well detailed, I think, and ripe to be painted if you really wanted to, but I'm not a painter. I'm not going to paint these, but they're detailed enough for me that I like them. I can admire them for what they are. Next, we've got the little units of these troops here, and these are actually really well detailed. You can see you've got sort of commanders in the back there, and you know, different guys crouching and things like that, and then again the flag there. You've got other types of units here. You can see there's a machine gunner. You can see this guy's got sort of binoculars looking out. So very thematic and, you know, cool little different details. And I should say that some of these actually you're going to be gluing in like the leg parts and things like that, because they come on these little, you know, plastic things here, and to keep them flat in the bag, you know, everything's got to be smooth. So you may be gluing an arm into a guy or a gun into a guy, and I'll show you probably the most complex one here in a second. Next step up in difficulty would be these trucks. And there's only certain parts of these that are difficult. This actually, you'll bend this hood over, so you want to be a little bit careful with that. And then you've got the wheels, and you know, different wheels in there. And there's even like engines inside of this, but they, you know, they act as sort of the structure to holding this whole thing together. But it was pretty silly. I was like, gosh, you have the engine, you're not even going to see it, but it does have a functional purpose. So a lot of detail. And here's the next step up here. You can see sort of a larger machine gun here. And you got two guys here, one sort of loading it, and the other guy's, firing it. This is really cool. And finally, before I show you the hardest one, you've got an airplane here for the Germans. So I left this apart, so you just basically snap this in like so. Do it real quick. See if I can do it. There we go. So you just move this around on the board. It gives us sort of a height difference. It's pretty cool. It's kind of sweet to see that fly around. And so here is the Magnum Opus. So you've got this mobile machine gun unit. And this thing is, I don't know, you can see I also got some glue on that actually. This is a bear to put together. A huge, huge bear. So you got the two guys, there's all multiple parts for each of these guys. And you got the wheels, the different pieces of the machine gun. I don't know how much detail you're going to see on this camera, but there's quite a bit of detail that goes into this model. So I'm actually sort of proud of myself that I actually got this put together. I should say it comes with a nice instruction sheet here. Most of them are self-explanatory, but this is kind of nice if you want to, get lost or something while you're making it. And I was unaware as a board gamer that the Zavita is actually pretty well known in the miniature world for just selling their models to be used with other systems. So if you're minis gamers at all, you've probably heard of these guys already. So here we've got a bunch of these boards. These are double-sided, and these are going to be put together based on the scenario instructions. Got some nice terrain there. And then one of the neatest features is you've got these other sort of stackable things here. So I could stack these two things here and then take one of these terrains and put it on top there. So if I wanted to do this river, like going over a mountain or something, I could do this like that, snap that in there, and put that, let's say, there. And then you could have another one that's a step down, like so, and you put this here on like that. So not only do you have, terrain and stats for terrains, but you've got a real visual cue as far as where the mountains are and the hills and things like that. And this gives it sort of a minis feel where you've got, instead of like a big terrain that you've had to assemble over, several hours, you can just kind of pseudo build some terrain here that's a little bit more physical than your average board game. Finally, we have the cards, and these are the main part of the game. You're going to spend most of your time staring at these cards and trying to figure out what you want to do on your turn. So the cards have one side here, which is basically the statistics of the unit, and then the other side where you're going to be giving it orders. Now, each of these has a point value there, so you can see that's worth 20 points. Now, based on the scenario, you're going to have certain units available to you, and then you have a certain amount of points you can spend. So if you had 100 points that you could spend, this would be 20, 12, and then you'd pick as many units as you could up to the number of points. And that varies scenario to scenario. And then here you can see you've got bullets. This is ammunition here. And so you've got this marker here that you can do to keep track of the current statistics of the unit. So if you use ammunition, then you just erase that, and then you keep erasing it until you run out. And then here you can see the number of actual, physical beings in that unit. So this is actually 3 guns, represented by the model that's on the board. And here you've got 2 different soldiers. This one's got 5. And then as people die and you take casualties, you'll mark these off like so. The other thing to note on here is you've got your defense or your armor value. And then here you've got basically the number of dice that you roll when targeting, these other types of units. So it uses sort of a buckets of dice combat, and this is the number of dice you roll based on the stat or the current state of your unit. And here is the range here, and so based on the distance to your target, you'll show what you need to roll to hit. So far away, you're going to need to roll a 1, and then if you're closer, you can roll a 1 or a 2. And so all this is going to change as your unit takes damage, etc. So if your unit becomes suppressed, you'll need to mark this as the suppression box right here. And each unit has these different abilities and different states that they can get into. So there's a ton here. There's just a ton, and I'm not even going to attempt to go into that. I would say if you get this, then get the first scenario going and play that, and it's just like any war game really, and get that and play through that, and then you're going to slowly add all of these different things. The other thing to look at here is on the back of these cards here. So on the back here, I'm going to mark one of the actions for the turn. So I may mark this action, and then this other action, and this other action. And then my opponent's going to do the same. So we're going to put all these face down and then reveal them. And then the expansion actually comes with this handy dandy player aid, which would have been really useful in the base game, but luckily I had the expansion, so I have this to reference. And I say this is required. Now all this information is in the original rulebook, but you know, you just gotta kind of dig for it. It's nice to have this. And I should say the expansion has a sort of a second edition of rules that's just slightly clearer. It's not that they're unclear, but just organized a little bit better, I think. So what you're going to do is everybody's going to sign the orders and then reveal the cards, and then you're going to go through this phase sequence here. It's basically 9-10 steps. And so based on the type of order that you gave your unit, the orders are going to happen in this order. So first, anybody that was given a defend order is going to do their step. And then if multiple people are doing defend, they all happen simultaneously. Then you have suppression fire, then open fire, then assault, which is melee combat. You've got ambush, because you can actually hide your units and have them come out of ambush. Special orders, move out, and so any moves. And so you're just going to do them in that order and kind of go down that list. However, this is not quite as simple as this may make it seem. There's going to be a lot of interactions between the orders that you give and things like that, and so there's a lot of sort of exceptions and things like along that line. Okay, and then on the back of the player aid, you've got this chart or this diagram of all of the different orders you can give to the different units. So there's quite a bit here. Let me just show you an example of one here so we can get an idea. So here's the dig in. So here, if I give the dig in order, I'll write that on the back of the card. I'll put 44, whatever the number of the hexes that I'm going to be digging in. And then I'll mark the first box. So on the next turn, I'll need to mark that second box, and then the trench will be complete. You get and then you'll have the the defensive bonus of the trench. But while you're doing this, your defense is 0. So you've got to remember that kind of stuff. And here you can see you need at least 2 people alive in the unit. So if I had more than 4 people marked off here, then they wouldn't be able to do that. Another thing to keep in mind is, remember I showed you the ammo. You can run out of ammo. Well, you can get supplies to your units and resupply them. And do the load supply action here. So this takes a couple of turns, and you've got to move the truck there and then receive the supplies. So it's very logistical and realistic. But if you take a step back and look at it, it's very complex in a sense, but it's also very streamlined. So you've got these cards that you're just going to mark the orders down, and then everybody's going to reveal, and then you're going to walk down the chart and look for any exceptions and things like that, and then execute those. Now the time is not going to come in this aspect of it, of giving the units the orders. You're going to need to know what these hexes are, what these icons are, but there's not usually too many, and there's a lot of duplicate ones here. But once you get to know those, giving the orders and giving some idea of what you're going to do. But then once you reveal, then you're going to have to sort of walk and sit through, as those things are ordered out, and learn how those interactions are going to happen. That's going to be sort of the meat of the game, but that's not really too hard. It's just you kind of read through and then flip back and forth and look for the different exceptions of what may or may not be happening. Okay, hope you enjoyed that somewhat brief overview of the game. This game is sort of on the outside of my particular wheelhouse as a gamer. You got to be more of a minis guy and more into the several hour play of the game. Now the box is 45 to 90 minutes. And that's about right, I think, once you get to know it. But there's just no way your first few games are going to be less than a couple of hours. Especially if you want to really make sure that you're doing the right thing. But I think if you have mini gamer friends and you're more of a board gamer, or board gamer, whatever that is, then this would be a game to kind of pull those people in and or pull you over to the other side of the mini side. And it's kind of a nice melding there. I really appreciate the system though. It's pretty interesting to sort of play with those sort of logistical decisions and see, okay, how long is this going to take me to do this? And there's just a lot there. So the realism aspect of it, to me, feels pretty close. I don't play several war games, especially the old ones. More the modern ones. So my frame of reference is probably a little bit off, but this is probably the most realistic game I've ever played. Do I recommend the game? Yeah, I think if you're a minis guy, Axis and Allies guy, then we'd take a look at it. I think that the unique system of the revealed orders is enough that it's different from just about anything out there. So they've got the expansion, they've got this base game. It would be cool, I think, for me, as a personal selfish thing, that I know that the next version of this system coming out is Samurai Battles. And they're partnering that with the Command and Colors, card-driven sort of play. I would be interested to see if they would maybe revisit this game with, Command and Colors. I know there's Memoir 44 already, which is basically the same theme, World War II, and so that already exists. So, but I think that if they could, maybe revisit it and maybe spice it up a little bit. Maybe I haven't seen what they're going to do with Samurai Battles, but maybe apply some of those same nuances or some different nuances to this game with a deck of cards or something. I think that would be pretty cool. I think it'd be probably in their interest to do that as well, because there's no way I could play this with my son, who likes Memoir 44, and there's no way he could play this. There's no way. But that'd be cool to get that, so it would see more play than having to make time at with the mini guys that I know. So anyway, yeah, definitely take a closer look at this, and thanks.